Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are on F1 22, as always. But in today's video, we are finally back with some league racing, and this race here was from BRS round 1, so the opening round of the league racing season, F1 22, and yeah, I actually did this a little while ago, so yeah, sorry it's taken a little bit of time to come up, but I will be releasing a league racing video each week now, so hopefully you are happy to see it back, and yeah, getting straight into it. I was really looking forward to the season. There are a few new additions to the league who are just ridiculously fast, and you will see some of those in a second. And we arrive at Australia for the first round of the new season, feeling very, very motivated to perform well. But you can see so far we're having a little bit of a struggle, and one of these new additions is right here now, Mr. FRA Elite, who I think is not only the fastest driver on Xbox, I'd say he's probably one of the... I think he's definitely in the top 5 fastest drivers on the game. With 100% certainty, he is just an absolute beast at this game. So we're going to do our best to get as close as we can to him. And coming into this, I wasn't feeling very confident around this track actually in qualifying. I decided to go with a very low downforce setup because when I was practicing with the likes of Elite and others, my race pace with the lower downforce setup seemed to be actually quite competitive against them, so it's not going to be good for the qualifying, but in the race I was hoping that it would pay something back, and so far I've done a 17.3, but I'm literally running almost 10 to 15 clicks less downforce than other people. You can see through here the car is very, very sluggish, and we were about, well, you'll see going through this first sector, WOR Matthew, who is actually ETE Rusty, by the way, on the previous game, if you didn't know who that was. So we're almost 2.5 tenths down in sector 1, but you're about to see, just on this straight alone, we're going to be gaining quite a bit of that time back. So as we come through to finish sector 2, you can see we've actually gained over a tenth just on that straight alone, and in the race that's actually going to be even more beneficial when people are struggling with the ERS. I'm able to save much more. So I was really banking on a race setup here, and we're just going to try and do our best to avoid damage limitation. A couple of cars parked on the inside, which I kind of missed the apex ever so slightly, so a little tiny distraction which put me off a bit, but then coming across the line is going to be a 17.1, which I don't think was actually that bad. Was that bad? Yeah, FR Elite. I need to go to the toilet. FR Elite does a 16.5, which is just... I know this was a couple of weeks ago, so people have improved since then, and no, that time is still insane, even by today's standards. And yeah, it's just insane. And no, another tenth and a half, I would be P2, and we would still be half a second away. But the problem is, the race is now wet at the start, which has kind of disrupted my strategy with the setup that I had on, because obviously lower downforce isn't going to be that great in wet conditions, but also mainly because we might have to pit for hards much earlier than anticipated. So we've got 5 lights here, and as they go out now, we actually get a pretty ridiculous start. I think we've got the best start out of everyone here, so managed to get 2 people straight away. Then coming into here, I have to cut this corner, otherwise I was going to run into the Aston Martin on the exit. But you'll be able to see in the drag race down to turn 3, I'm just so much faster in a straight line, and we managed to do the perfect start, getting up into P4 in this race. But the only predicament I have is that the rain is only meant to be here for around 10 or so laps, or 10 minutes or something like that. And that means we're going to have to pit much earlier for the hards than anticipated, because what I wanted to do was go quite long on mediums and then go on much fresher hards at the end. And with this setup, with lower downforce, you do struggle a lot more with the tyre wear. If you have a higher downforce setup, your tyre wear is going to be significantly better. So that's something that's kind of gone against my favour with this weather here. So I was hoping this weather would stay out as long as possible. But you can see from this virtual safety car, a lot of people mentioned this in the stream as well, I was kind of falling asleep here, to be honest, on this one. But the Delta does seem to be reacting quite weird. So for this first one, I definitely fell asleep. I just wasn't really paying attention. You can see we've actually lost quite a bit of time, which is something I really do need to work on a lot, which is the virtual safety car. But you will see we actually have another virtual safety car that comes around quite shortly. As on the exit here, that is actually now our second warning. So one more of those and we will actually get a time penalty. So coming through into here, FRA Elite does a 26.3 and we're doing a 27.7. So yeah, that downforce and setup that he's running is clearly working very well in these conditions. And you can see the gap he's already made to P2 is insane. He does another 26, so 26.2. And the gap to P2, Mark and Rusty up ahead in P3, we're actually kind of maintaining that gap. So our pace is good. It's just that Elite's is just elite, pretty much. It's just absolutely nuts. But let's come through here. We've got another virtual safety car, but this one, I would say I definitely could have anticipated a bit more, but you will see at the end, the Delta is quite messed up. And speaking to people after the race, they said that they had a very different Delta to the one that I was running. So if you look at the Delta here, it's actually going down quite quickly. So I back off because I think it's going down quickly, but then it goes up so quickly again. So it's kind of like the Delta's in dry conditions rather than wet conditions. And because of that, I've just lost so much time once again. Because it was dropping so quickly, I wanted to back off just in case I went over it. But then it shut up again so quickly. And on other people's screens, they had a very, very different Delta. So I don't know if that's a glitch or I'm not sure at all. But we've lost a lot of time, but we're still managing to maintain that gap quite nicely to the guys up ahead. But the problem now is that the DRS has been enabled, which is normally a clear indicator that the weather is changing to dries pretty shortly. And since I'm running a low downforce setup, the tyre wear is now going to be very bad, because I wanted to pit around maybe that 12, 13, 14 on the mediums and then go on hards to the end. Having to now pit this early is going to make it a very difficult time to actually get to the end quite comfortably on these tyres. So we decided to box because Mark pitted a lap before us and it felt a little bit too wet to pit. So we're going to pit here now, as I think Elite has also pitted. There's only a few people who have continued a bit more. And Mark was about 5 seconds ahead of us. And as we come out here, we have actually gone on hards, but Matthew and Mark are actually on medium. So maybe they feel they can actually get to the end of the race, or maybe they're just running a much higher downforce. But I was actually quite surprised to see them run on the medium tyres here. And you're about to see, since you come out of the pits and your tyres are ice cold, and plus we're on hard tyres as well, it makes it a very, very difficult task. And already we have just lost 2 seconds to him, and you'll be able to see the gap to the guys behind. We just have absolutely no temperature in these tyres at this point, and I think I should have probably maybe continued for a lap or two longer, because it just didn't feel quite ready for the dries. But I just made sure I replicated what my rivals were doing. You can see we're almost up to 80 degrees now, but you're about to see by the end of this lap, after Mark was behind us, we've actually lost, I think it's going to be close to almost 5 seconds that we have just lost on this lap itself, which is just absolutely insane. But I think Elite has gone out on the hard tyres also. So I was hoping maybe the guys ahead of him, or ahead of me, could maybe start to battle him for lead of this race and see if something could be done about his lead, as the other guys are now pitting now. And as we come out here, Goxie almost actually did an overcut me, but you'll see he suffers the same problem. His tyres are going to take a long time to heat up, and you will see where that gap is as we move on a bit further into this race. And you can see by the end of that lap, we've actually gained almost 4 seconds on him. And the guys in the medium, but FRA Elite does us 23.9. Matthew is only half a second faster on mediums, and we're going to come us a line. And yeah, I just don't understand how Elite can be going this fast. He is just... I've watched his footage quite a lot, and yeah, he's told me sometimes the wings he's been running as well as he sets another 20.9. I just don't know how he carries this apex speed. It's just like the car is just super glued to the track. And before anyone says it, he isn't cheating. It's almost impossible to be cheating on Xbox. And yeah, I really don't believe he is. I wish he was, but he's not. He just carries so much apex speed and has such control with the inputs. It is just absolutely mental. And he really likes to use high gears as well, which for me feels very unnatural. But maybe that is something you need to do, and something I need to learn a bit more on this game itself. So we're just going to complete this lap just to show you what a typical lap actually looks like. And you can see we've actually pulled away from the hard runners behind. The gap to the medium guys are still extending up ahead, but you can see Elite is still pulling away from Matthew and Mark in P2, P3. So his pace is just really out of this world. But I did think to myself that I think it's going to be quite a hard time for Matthew and Mark and the mediums to actually get to the end of the race, because my tyres weren't looking in a great condition already. And since they're on a much softer compound, unless they're running a much higher downforce, which is going to be better on tyre wear, then I was quite confident that they shouldn't be able to make it to the end as well. So I'm just doing my best here to try and keep it as consistent as I can, as I do a 21.9, so about a second away from what Elite's doing. And looking at that lap, I can see a few mistakes, but 1 second is just a lifetime of lap time. But you can see here now, Mark has actually now got a 3-second time penalty himself. So that was giving me a bit of confidence. And it was at this stage where the gap was starting to stabilise just a little bit, as Elite now does a 20.8, which, again, I just do not understand how he is doing that at all. Because there's a lot of fast drivers. The people up ahead of me are very, very fast themselves. But the mediums should be getting to the stage where they should be struggling quite a bit, as no, they haven't pitted just yet. Still continuing on.
So they might be able to go to the end of mediums, but...
And yeah, I thought maybe because of their downforce they might be able to make it to the end, but as we skip here, you can see that gap is actually coming down very, very quickly, as Matthew has now decided to pit. So quite clearly he couldn't make it to the end of the race. But as we come through into here now, I believe Mark has suffered a puncture, and we were about an inch away from destroying our race here. But now we've actually got up into P2, and Matthew's actually gone on to the soft tyres, but he is going to be almost a pit stop behind with 6 laps to go. And this has very much worked in our favour. So as we skip on to lap 26, wasn't losing a whole amount of time to Elite, but you can see my tyre wear indicator has come on now, and that was almost red with a few laps to go. But Levi has actually caught me up because he pitted, I think, maybe a lap or 2 later than me. And I believe he was definitely running high downforce than me as well, because you will see that when you compare straight line speed. So his tyres are going to be in much better condition. However, he has 9 seconds worth of penalties. And on this game, including myself, it does seem to be much easier to get a time penalty, and the track limits seem to be a little bit stricter as well. And you're about to see the straight line speed difference quite shortly, as we're on 71% on our rear left tyre. Yeah, I'm just trying to do my best here, but I don't want to let it pass instantly, just in case one of his penalties could be removed in case it was like a double warning or something. So I want to try and fight as much as I can. We're using the ERS here. He's actually got the DRS, but you can see we're actually pulling away in a straight line. So that just shows how much lower wings we are actually running than him, as FRA Elite has actually decided to pit because he has a pit stop's worth of a gap ahead, and now he's going to go into the medium. So I think he's going to try and go for a faster lap on the last lap of the race itself. And yeah, we're just going to do our best to try and hold up Levi, because I didn't want to let him pass too easily in case he broke a 3-second gap and then he got one of his, or maybe 2 of his penalties removed. So yeah, we're still going to fight this as hard as we can again. You can see our straight line speed is very, very good here, as FRA Elite is just warming up his tyres. We're gaining a little bit, but you will see probably in the space of the last lap he'll probably pull away by maybe 4 seconds or so on one lap, as our tyres are now screaming quite badly now. And yeah, I think if the race was dry and we wanted the mediums for quite a while at the start, and then the hards are much softer or much fresher, then this setup would have worked much, much better for the race itself. But since we had to pit very early for the hards, it's kind of forced me into this strategy. Now Levi has actually got a good run this time, using the ERS again, but with the grip he has, we're not going to fight this too hard. We've got to leave some room on the outside, and you can just see with that pure traction, he's going to get that move done. His red light is actually flashing as well. So we're just going to stay on board for this last lap and just try and keep within 3 seconds, just in case he gets some of his penalties removed. So we're going to be using the DRS here, and you can see how much we're going to gain in a straight line than him. So coming through this turn 1, he's going to carry a bit more speed through here. We're going to get the DRS once again and save the ERS just for this middle straight. So yeah, our tyres are well and truly gone at this stage of the race itself. And coming through to here, can't even go flat out anymore. That's how bad their tyres got up. The gap has gone up to actually 2 seconds. Sam Yeno is actually catching me quite quickly behind as well. But if you look at the delta in this middle sector, I think as we use the overtake button, you can see how much time we are actually closing in. So just so fast in a straight line itself. So if we had the fresher tyres, it would be a pretty good thing to run. And going for this last sector, we're just going to try and keep within the 3 seconds, but you can see we're dangerously close to a puncture at this stage of the race itself. And now just coming through the last 2 corners, it's going to be FR Elite who sets the fastest lap of an 18.5 on those medium tyres. Actually picked up a penalty himself on that last lap. And coming off the exit here, we've managed to keep it within that 3 seconds. And coming across the line, we're actually going to come home in P2 from P6 on the grid. So in the end, we actually did keep that position as well, and not bad damage limitation. So that is my first league race on F1 22. I'll be racing Canada next week. And yeah, so far I felt good in this game, especially at the beginning, but with the patches, I feel like it's kind of disrupted my rhythm just a little bit. So definitely a little bit more time to find. Feel the race pace is always good, but definitely a bit more time to find in the qualifying, and a few more things to learn as well. But hopefully you are enjoying this game. Thank you for watching and support on the channel. I have already released more one-to-one coaching sessions with me from September onwards. So if you go to www.coachlimitless.com, you will be able to see that there. Make sure you check out Bybit, the link in the description, and I will be catching you very, very soon. Peace.